Military forces around the world are often seen as powerful, yet mysterious entities. For the majority of the public, we never become privy to the secrets they keep. So when images are leaked, we finally get an insight into the strange and sometimes terrifying things that take place among the military. Here we take a look at 13 leaked military photos the public were never meant to see. UFO tracked by U.S. planes. What do Blink-182's Tom DeLonge and the Pentagon have in common? Well, UFOs, of course. It may come as a surprise to learn that the former Blink-182 guitarist is the founder of To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, an organization aiming to research and explore exotic sciences, and it supports a plethora of gifted scientists from the Pentagon. But it gets weirder. In 2015, they released a video named Go Fast, which shows a high-speed chase between a U.S. Defense Department FA-18 Super Hornet and a UFO. Luis Elizondo, an advanced aerospace threat identification expert who now works for Tom DeLonge, told CNN he believed this was proof the Pentagon were harboring more evidence of UFOs, and this was just the tip of the iceberg. Meanwhile, civil aviation expert David Susi found the video concerning, especially because no heat was detected from the UFO. So does the video actually prove the existence of UFOs? Well, it's hard to tell, and currently the Pentagon refuses to comment. I guess we'll just have to wait for what the former guitarist reveals next. Russian military selfies. What do you get when you cross Russian military personnel and a whole bunch of forbidden selfies? A huge international scandal. Over the last few years, more and more selfies have found their way onto social media, showing Russian troops in places they shouldn't be. One example was posted in 2014 when Russian soldier Mikhail Chuganov posted this picture showing the Russian army delivering Grad rockets to pro-Russian rebels in the Ukraine. And he's not the only one. Countless Russian soldiers have given away sensitive information along with their location by posting their selfies, not realizing the pictures are geotagged, proving Russia's direct involvement in the conflict despite their continual denial of this fact. This includes Sergeant Alexander Sotkin, whose selfie taken inside a BTR-90 armored vehicle gave away his location in the Ukraine, a location the Russian authorities deny their troops being present. Not only did this get him into trouble with his supervisors, but it caused an international backlash. These days, you can find him online asking for financial donations, without his sergeant stripes. Kim Jong-un's army. In April of 2017, Kim Jong-un organized a parade in Pyongyang to display his nation's military prowess. This included showing the world just how technologically advanced and sophisticated his army was. However, less than 6 months after this parade, a tourist traveling between Mount Kumgang and Wonsan on the east coast of North Korea snapped his own photographs of Un's army. And to nobody's surprise, they reveal a military force that's nothing like what the North Korean leader would have you believe. Instead of the athletic goose-stepping troops from the parade, these soldiers looked exhausted and were sleeping at the side of the road on the bare ground in substandard uniforms. Not only this, but the images showed gas and even wood-powered trucks that haven't been seen in other countries around the world since the Second World War. Meanwhile, female troops were seen walking around exhausted in high heels, while male soldiers were seen loafing around courtyards with mock wooden guns. All in all, the photos are a direct contradiction to just about everything Kim Jong-un claims about his mighty nation's army. But you have to ask yourself, which set of images are the propaganda? Some people have theorized that although the tourist's images reveal a military force far below the expected standard, they may be manufactured on purpose to make them look weaker than they really are. It was a similar tactic employed by the Vietnamese authorities to take U.S. troops by surprise. What do you think? North Korea's concentration camps. In 2017, a report named the Parallel Gulag appeared that revealed something pretty terrifying. The report contained a series of 20 satellite photographs showing what appeared to be prison camps along with guard towers and surrounding walls in North Korea. Shockingly, what these images captured were concentration camps, which the report states are being used as instruments of fear and control. Although North Korea strongly denies the existence of these camps, Amnesty International has reported that they have the worst conditions they have ever encountered in 50 years.
The people who are there are kept there for life, almost always without any proper trials.
People are said to be imprisoned in these camps for the most minor of slights against Kim Jong-un and his dynasty. What's even more shocking is that people can be imprisoned just because someone else in their family has caused offense to the leader. Little is known about them because very few have escaped, and most are kept there for life. Punishments in these camps include beating, forced starvation, solitary confinement, torture, and even forced abortions. For the lucky prisoners, they are sentenced to a life of hard labor, such as mining and logging. As can be expected, the camps have come under close scrutiny from human rights organizations, such as the Human Rights in North Korea group, who have revealed the camps are often placed in the middle of isolated countryside or on the edge of industrialized towns. In these camps, hundreds of inmates can be incarcerated and, most chillingly, are dumped in mass, unmarked graves once they die. Abu Ghraib. In 2004, a series of photographs found their way into the public eye that showed a number of human rights violations perpetrated by U.S. troops in Iraq that included torture, sexual abuse, and even murder. Many of these photos are far too graphic to show you. In fact, some are even so gruesome I can't even describe them to you. What I can tell you is that officially there have been a reported 1,325 images of abuse against prisoners, along with 93 video files. 546 images portrayed dead detainees, while 660 were seen to be pornographic. One image in particular, which became the most famous out of all of them, showed a female officer smoking a cigarette and smiling while she forced a naked, hooded prisoner to perform a sex act. Meanwhile, other photos showed officers beating naked prisoners and using them for target practice. Some officers even smiled and posed beside corpses. The offending officers were apprehended for their crimes, with many being demoted, dishonorably discharged, or sent to military prison. However, some have managed to escape prosecution. China's newest aircraft carrier. When the China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation leaked an image of their latest design for an aircraft carrier, it quickly began doing the rounds on social media. But this was no normal aircraft carrier. This was a 70,000-ton ship named Type 002. And only China's third carrier. The image showed an aircraft carrier so huge it would instantly outperform Russia with only one carrier, and would see it rival even those in the US Navy, which currently owns some of the world's only nuclear supercarriers. Immediately, Type 002 piqued the public's interest as people tried to gauge what exactly China is planning to do with a vessel of that size. The image was soon taken down by the shipbuilding company, but the damage was already done. Despite some claiming the leak was deliberate, people were now more curious than ever about China's planned military endeavors. It has been estimated the ship will be ready by 2021, and if that's the case, it would make the Chinese Navy one of the most powerful in the entire world. What do you think they're planning? Chinese electromagnetic weapons. What's more terrifying than China building secret super aircraft carriers? Probably China harboring secret electromagnetic weapons. When an image was released of a Chinese ship in the Wuchang shipyard holding some sort of secret superweapon, speculation ran wild as people tried to figure out what it was. As expected, the Chinese authorities haven't commented about what the technology is, but people online were quick to do some investigative work to find out for themselves. Currently, it's believed the piece of equipment on board the ship is an electromagnetic railgun. A weapon like this can fire projectiles using electromagnetic force at super speed. It can also reach targets as far as 335 kilometers away. That's 208 miles. Once again, the image shows the Chinese Navy are most definitely planning something, but for the time being, we're just not sure what. Assad regime torture. In one of the most shocking yet extensive instances of secret military photos finding their way to the public, a report was published in 2015 which investigated shocking images taken secretly inside Syria. But this wasn't just a few photographs. This was over 50,000 images leaked to the public by a defected member of the Syrian military who currently operates under the codename Caesar. Caesar showed the world the brutality and violence that took place under the regime of Syria's President Bashar al-Assad. This set a series of events in motion that led to official reports being written to provide evidence of the rumored violence and human rights crimes taking place within the Assad regime, despite vehement denials that they weren't. The images mostly depicted the bodies of men aged 20 to 40 who had fallen victim to severe forced starvation, a method used as a form of torture. So how did Caesar get all of these photographs? Gruesomely, he was employed as a photographer in the military police. This meant his only job was to photograph murdered detainees, and said he took pictures of up to 50 corpses a day. An unimaginable task, given that he had to record endless pieces of horrifying evidence. A formal analysis of Caesar's photographs show men with bodies so emaciated their faces and limbs had become concave. Many victims' torsos were terribly wounded with bruises and torn skin. Currently, a team of prosecutors who specialize in war crimes are eager to ensure justice is served for the hundreds of victims. Whether that will happen, we don't yet know. Australian's Nazi flag. There are some things that are always bound to cause offense, and waving a Nazi flag is definitely one of them. When Australian troops entered Afghanistan in 2007, they should have probably thought twice before attaching an enormous swastika onto their Jeep as they carried out their patrols, especially when someone snapped a picture of them and it soon got leaked to the international press. The image showed a group of soldiers while on maneuvers in the desert with an enormous red, white, and black Nazi flag glimmering through the heat haze. As expected, it caused a worldwide furor, and the soldiers were quickly disciplined. Australia's Defence Minister Marise Payne said the flag was completely unacceptable and at odds with the values of the Australian Defence Force. Russia's new stealth drone. On January 23, 2019, a Russian aviation site published a leaked photograph of a deadly-looking drone being towed down an airfield in the snow-covered region of Novosibirsk. After numerous unsuccessful attempts at making killer drones, it appears Russia has triumphed with their latest model, the Okhotnik B drone. Similar in shape to the well-known American B-2 stealth bomber, the Okhotnik means hunter in Russian, and the leaked images have been running rampant on the Russian social media site VK. It's certainly an impressive-looking aircraft and remarkably similar to China's J-20 stealth fighter. So how could such a top-secret aircraft be leaked so easily? One theory is that the photo was leaked on purpose, as the Russian Ministry of Defense began publicizing upcoming flight tests for unmanned combat air vehicles. But what do you think? Do you think the image was leaked deliberately? Warship near miss. When 4 grainy black and white pictures appeared on the website gcaptain.com, it was hard to say what exactly it showed. However, once authenticated by naval site Stars and Stripes, it was discovered to be a photograph showing a near miss between American and Chinese warships. Worryingly, the collision almost took place between 2 destroyers, the USS Decatur and the Chinese warship Lancao. So why did these 2 ships almost collide? One explanation is that the Chinese warship was dispatched to chase away the US destroyer as it found its way into Chinese waters. Yet what is most terrifying about the images is that they showed the enormous warships come within just 45 yards of each other until the US destroyer was forced to maneuver itself to avoid a potentially dangerous collision. Women of the Israeli Defense Force. Over the last few years, soldiers within the Israeli Defense Force have faced disciplinary actions because their private photographs have made their way onto social media. Raunchy photos taken by female soldiers were taken inside the barracks, showing them wearing little more than their underwear and limited combat equipment, striking seductive poses while brandishing their rifles. It was no surprise their pictures started being circulated around the internet. It also didn't help the Israeli Defense Force that the soldiers were strikingly gorgeous. In one photo, girls pose in nothing but bras and panties. Meanwhile, another picture shows a group of female soldiers in their dormitory wearing nothing but their helmets and some strategically placed combat equipment. The inappropriate images were said to be taken by new recruits in a base in southern Israel. Their commanding officer was quick to discipline at least 4 of the girls. However, the Israeli army are still intent on stopping the leak of embarrassing images finding their way online. WikiLeaks footage. Thanks to WikiLeaks, a video emerged in 2007 showing US troops firing out of an Apache helicopter using 30mm cannons. The video, shot through the gun sights of the helicopter, shows men on the ground being shot, although none of them are firing at the chopper. The audio in the video records a shooter requesting permission to fire, after which he is told,
"Light them all up."
During the incident, 12 people were killed and 2 children were severely injured. One of the reasons the video is significant is because 2 of the men killed were Reuters journalists, Saeed Chama and Namir Noor Eldin. Lieutenant Colonel Scott Blackwell claims the footage shows a battle taking place between U.S. troops and Iraqi insurgents. He said, "There is no question that coalition forces were clearly engaged in combat operations against a hostile force. However, viewers of the video aren't convinced. In the footage, you can see the 2 journalists running for their lives rather than actively fighting. Meanwhile, you can hear the troops inside the Apache laughing before one of them says,
"Got a bunch of bodies laying there."
So what do you see in the footage? Do you think it shows a combat zone? And have you learned anything new from these leaks? It seems sometimes secrets need to be exposed, otherwise terrible atrocities will continue to occur.